Welcome to Garden Guns. This is a continuation video from an unboxing video I did a couple of weeks ago. I put up a couple of weeks ago. Was it a couple of months? Anyway, an unboxing video I did, and this is the continuation video on the Oneleaf Commander NV500. So for those of you that are interested in unboxing goodness or interested in what comes in the box with this thing, go back and have a look at my previous videos. It should be in there somewhere. Right, quick bit of history. So, I originally got given this bad boy to review from Oneleaf, and I liked it so much and I was so impressed with the overall quality of the product, I asked to keep it. And, you know, at the time it was on a really good deal online. So, yeah, I decided I was going to keep this. And then Oneleaf reached out and asked if I would be interested in reviewing the NV500. And to that end, I said, yeah, and they sent me through the kit, so with the rangefinder, the torch, and they sent me through two lenses. So I got a 2x lens, a 30mm 2x lens, which this currently has on it, and I also got a 4x lens as well. So you basically got a 4x, yeah, it's basically a 4x mag on the 50mm lens and a 2x mag on the 30mm lens. The other thing about the 30mm lens is it also has a manually adjustable aperture, which basically means you can control the amount of light that the sensor is receiving. If it's wide open, it's getting a lot of light, so for use at night, and then when bright daylight, it gives you the option to close that aperture right down. Having said that, in really bright light, and especially when you're shooting onto a light target, i.e. like a white piece of paper, you still need to fit the little natty sunshade that Oneleaf give you to the front of the scope, and all it does is basically screw in at the front. He says, desperately messing this up on camera, screw in on the front. And it just, once again, it even restricts the amount of light getting through to that sensor even more. Yes, it looks a little bit belt and braces, indeed it is, but the thing probably costs about 50p, if that. Probably costs even less, it's probably like 5p to produce. And if it means that they're not having to put extra gubbins in the scope and therefore increasing the cost, then, you know, for the sake of something that looks a little bit janky, I'm more than happy. So, let's carry on talking about the lens. So this 2x lens as well, other than the aperture, the adjustable aperture, the other thing it's got over the 4x lens is it's got a wider field of view, both vertically and horizontally. It basically means that when you've got it zoomed down, you get a wider picture. You can see more left and right and up and down than you can do with the 4x zoom on the same magnification, digital magnification setting, which for us UK air gunners is at the ranges we shoot, it's pretty useful. But I'll talk more about that in the summing up at the end. The other thing I want to do is just basically show you the size difference, because this is one of the really things I really like. I mean, that's the 400. Let's put it behind. You know, you can see that the 400 is a beast of a unit, whereas the 500 is a lot more compact. The 400 is also a little bit heavier than the 500. You know, I think it's noticeably so. So there is also that added bonus. Right. I tell you what, because I've got the end of this video, which I've already shot, is yeah, it's quite long. So, well, let's get on with the shooting part, the day shooting, and I'll also do the night shooting. I'll run that all in now. And then we'll do the summing up. Back with you in a minute. Right. So, first off, I apologise. This isn't the middle of the day, unfortunately. We've the first video I shot corrupted a bit. Now we've got a slight change in wind. So, let's see how I can do. Let's take the spinner at the top. Okay, so the wind is kind of taking it to the right a little bit. Let's try that one. Take the right edge. check that out. Yeah, you can see. Let's try the bottom spinner. There we go. Yes, so I'm having to take a little bit of windage on that. Right, so I'm going to zoom out. Oh, zoom out, he says. There we go. And what I'm going to do is laze that target at the bottom. There we go. So that's saying 38 odd meters, is that right? Yeah, that's going to be about there. So, let's see if I can get those. Zoom in. Once again, as I say, there's a little bit of wind. Hopefully I should be alright. Yeah, hitting them, not getting great hits. Oh, just between the gusts. Right, so let's see if I can hit those spinners at the back. Lays the target again. What are we getting on for range? 45. And if I can hit these, it is... There we go. Let's go for that one again. Perfect. Top one. Right. So as you can see, hopefully from the scope footage, the laser rangefinder, when set up properly, is phenomenally good. But anyway, right, I'm going to do a bit of night shooting on these targets again, and maybe do a bit in the back, down into the field out the back, just to show off the night vision properly over some distance. Right, let's cut to the night. Okay, so here we go at night. This is with in the starry mode. Basically the illuminator's not on, it's just using the natural ambient light that's available, which isn't a huge amount. There is a moon tonight, but alas, it is behind clouds. So let's zoom in and see if we can see anything. I mean, you know, it's alright, it's not perfect. Let's switch to night. There we go, that's night mode. Okay, let's fire up the illuminator. So, that's at 1. Yeah, that's pretty damn bright. Let's put it onto 2. That's 2. You can see it's actually starting to... And that's 3. That's really bright. Okay, so back to 1. That's probably the best. So the nice thing about the illuminator is it's got 3 LED lights on it, and it shows you which power, 1, 2 or 3. So every time you switch it off, the next time you switch it on, it goes back up to its next power level. Right, let's fire up the laser rangefinder. Actually no, let's just load a mag first. Right, so hopefully you guys can see a sort of a flashing strobe effect, and somewhere hopefully in the video there is a range readout. So you can see as I move this around, you can see hopefully the range readout's up there. You can see the distance changing. So right, so what we're going to do is laze this lot at the bottom. and I'm going to lock the range in now. Okay, I'm going to wind up the zoom. I'm going to just focus up. There we go, that's my hand getting in the way. See if I can focus this up. There we go. Right. Let's see if I can get one of these bad boys. There we go. So that's just under 40 yards. Good hits. Okay, let's laze the target at the bottom. See if I can pull that in. Can I make that any sharper? No. So as you can see, this is the problem with the 2x lens. At these higher mags, you get a little bit of breakup further away. So I'm going to zoom out. See if I can get a little bit of better focus on that. No, I think that's about as good as it's going to get. So as I said, after about 50 yards, I think that's when having the 4x lens comes in. But the issue with the 4x lens is when you've zoomed, come on, zoom out. There we go. When you zoom out, as you can see, you've got a reasonable, with a sort of 2x with just the digital zoom, you've got a decent sort of field of view down the bottom of the garden for scanning left and right. But as soon as you zoom in, you start to sort of lose that a little bit. Right, so can I make out any of those? How about if I zoom out a little bit? Let's see if I switch it on to 3x, whether that's going to make any difference. There we go. So now I've got the rangefinder on full power, and that has actually illuminated the bottom. But what I want to do now is blaze it. And that's saying 44.8, 45. So as you can see, it's not massively clear with that level of zoom. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, so let's go for one of those spinners at 45 yards, 45 meters even actually. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Okay. It's not... I can just about make those spinners out from here. Certainly can't make the animals out on the top. Let's try the one on the left. Oh. No. Yeah, I can barely see those spinners actually. What else? Anything else I can see to shoot? See if I zoom in a little bit. Okay. See if I can hit one of the animals on the top. There we go. Right, I think that'll do it for this bit. Let's move on and see what sort of range I can get out of this across the field. Right, so here we go. This is with the illuminator on full, and obviously I've got the 0 on. Sorry, I've got the pardon me. I've got the range, the magnification wound down to minimum 1 times. So this is just with the 2 times lens, the optical zoom. Right, let's switch the rangefinder on if I can get it. There we go. That's saying out of range. 284, 304, 380, 420. That's 5.5. So I can get 5.5 meters out of this. Sorry, 5.5, 550 meters out of this. And then across the field, yeah, keeps coming out of range. I don't know why it keeps coming up with that, but yeah, there you have it. Let's switch the switch it off. Okay, there you go. So one of the bonuses about that rangefinder is when set up properly, it is really accurate. I didn't do a particularly good job of showing you guys how good it was tonight, but I think hopefully from the scope cam footage from this evening you guys will get a decent idea of exactly how it operates. Anyway, right, back to the summing up. Cheers. So I know I said I was going to call it quits, but I decided just to switch over to the 4 times lens. So as you can see, you can probably notice the field of view is tighter in. You can see less of the garden, but you know it is all a little bit closer. This is in starry mode, which is actually pretty decent. To be fair, I did diss it. I think the first time I tried it there wasn't a lot of ambient light. So let's switch to night mode. There you go, that's night mode without an illuminator, and that is with the illuminator set to 1. As you can see, just straight off, it is a lot clearer. You can see a lot more with the 4 times lens. Everything is a lot sharper, and you can see those, let's zoom in, you can see those spinners down at 45 a heck of a lot better. Having said that, you know, the 30-meter board and the flip targets at 40 odd meters, with the 2 times lens you could see them perfectly. And as I said, the main difference for me as an air gunner in the UK is that 2 times lens just gives you that bigger field of view. I mean, this is zoomed all the way back. It's back to 1 times digital zoom, so 4 times optical zoom. And as you can see down the bottom of the garden at sort of 50 meters, well, 45 meters, you can, you know, it's got a reasonable field. You'll be able to pick up rats, you know, critters at that distance with this. Most of the air gun shooting that I do is between 30 and 40 meters, so that extra field of view that the 2 times lens gives you is really, really useful, and I find that it's perfectly adequately usable. But anyway, just to give you an idea, this 4 times lens is absolutely superb. Anyway, right, back to the summing up. Right, so hopefully the downrange bit that I've just shot is okay, it's come out all right. And hopefully the night bit that I'm going to shoot this evening also comes out all right. For those of you that want to see a hunt with the scope, you know, yeah, for my regular viewers, you know that I don't show any footage from me hunting. This is a channel purely about air guns and accessories and having fun shooting in the garden, hence Garden Guns, the name. it's not about going out and hunting. That's something that I do a little bit of on the side, but my main interest in this channel is all focused on having fun shooting air guns. And this, to be honest, I like plinking with this at night. It's slightly annoying for the neighbours, I think, but yeah, so hopefully that footage will come out all right. Anyway, let's do the summing up. Point being about the whole hunting thing, plenty of other channels out there, especially there are definitely a good few reviews from the US, and I think there are a couple of from the UK channels that will show at night hunts with this bit of equipment. So go and do your YouTube foo and have a look, and you'll be able to find something out there if you want to see this actually in action, taking down little critters. But anyway, right. So let's talk about this in terms of the NV500. It's older brother. It's competition from PARD and from the other scope manufacturers and this unit. So let's start off with the NV500. So at the moment the NV500's fully spec'd, so with the rangefinder and everything, is going out on their website for about £515. And this, spec'd with the rangefinder and the 2x lens, is going out for £555, I think, currently. For the extra 40 quid, I think that this is, it's definitely an improvement in terms of overall form factor. It's slightly lighter, it's shorter, but I also think that the image quality is slightly better. Whether that's just in my mind, I can't really say. I definitely think it just seems to be a bit sharper, I think anyway. I certainly have been able to pick out things just a little bit better than I could do with the NV500. And also the overall software seems to be running quicker and smoother, the actual operating system, so it powers on quicker. If you span the zoom wheel, like you've zoomed really quickly with the NV500, it seemed to get confused and lock up a bit. That seems to be less of a thing with the NV500. The zoom wheel seems to be, it sort of keep up with you twiddling it. The menu seems to be quicker to use, although the menu is pretty much exactly, from what I can see, it's identical to the one on the 400, which is why I say go and have a look at my 400 video if you're interested in the menu options. Yeah, I think, especially for the 40 quid price difference, this is easily worth that extra 40 quid, and I would, without a shadow of a doubt, suggest anybody, if you're in that market with 500 quid in your back pocket to spend on some night vision gear, I would say that this is the NV500 is a great unit to get. The 400, it's still a great unit, but at the price point it's currently at on the website, I just don't think it's worth the money. I think you would definitely be better paying the extra for that. Having said that, I do know that Oneleaf sometimes have deals on, so if you're sort of on the fence, it's probably worth sort of just keep checking their website every now and then if you're particularly interested in these scopes, and basically see what's available. So let's talk about this as it came. So I got the 2x and the 4x lens with this. So it was, Christ, I've forgotten how much that is. So the complete kit, rangefinder and the 2 lenses, it comes out at 670 odd quid at current exchange rates. Do I think you need the second lens? As a UK air gunner shooting sub 12 foot-pounds, my answer to that is no. I think the 2x lens, especially considering it's got that manually variable aperture, it's what we need. It's all we need for UK sub 12 foot-pound air gunning. You've got that wider field of view. It does pretty much everything, and on a really bright evening, a really bright night, so really good moon, you don't even need the laser. You don't even need the associated IR torch. With the aperture wide open, it is good enough to be able to hunt without the torch. Why does it have extra lenses? Well, that's for the guys that aren't based in the UK, that aren't restricted by 12 foot-pounds or have easier access to firearms. You know, the 4x lens and the 6x lens for, you know, those guys that get to shoot more powerful kit and out to further distances. I've used the 4x lens with my 2.2 rimfire and my 1.7 HMR out to about 150, and it works well. You know, you can see that's where the benefit starts to come in. The 2x lens, you're having to wind the zoom up quite a bit, and that's when you tend to get that pixelation of the image, because it is a digital image. Whereas if you're already starting with 4x zoom, you've already got an added optical benefit. So when you're winding the zoom up, it tends to go further. You get greater zoom effectively, because instead of it being 2x, say 8, if you've got it 8 on the digital, if you've set it times 8 digitally, that gives you 16x zoom. Effectively, it's 4x8, so you're actually using 24x zoom. And shooting out 150 meters, you don't notice that lack of field of view quite so much, because, you know, you scan for targets with the zoom wound all the way down, the digital zoom wound all the way down, and then once you've locked on, you can zoom in. The 6x lens that you can see on the website, that's for guys shooting sort of 5.56 and larger calibers. You know, guys that are shooting out 250 plus yards. That's where I would see the 6x lens coming in. So overall, I think it's, as I said in my first video on the 400, I've been really impressed by the quality of the workmanship. You know, these are solidly made units. You know, when you're screwing the lenses on, you know, they feel as good as any bit of decent Japanese camera equipment I've used. You know, I'm not overly worried about bits and bobs breaking through use with these. I think for the money, they are right in the ballpark. They're exactly where they want to be, and they're a good competitive option. I would recommend them over a Pard. I think they're slightly better, at least the Pards that I've come across. And to be absolutely fair, I've not used any of the newest equipment out of Pard. I've only used my 007, and I've used one of the early 008s with the rangefinder on. You know, it's a good bit of kit, but I think I prefer this overall. And you know, at 555 quid, it's cheaper cheaper than the 008 used to be with the rangefinder on. What else? I think that's about it. I'd like to say thanks to Oneleaf for giving me the opportunity to review yet another piece of their equipment. I'm fast becoming a little bit of a fanboy of their gear. I think, as I said, I think for the money it's good value. To be completely transparent, Oneleaf have offered to partner with me, i.e. any traffic driven from my YouTube channel to their sales. They have offered me a commission. I have turned them down on that offer. This channel is not about making money for me. It's purely a hobby. I do it because I enjoy shooting the guns, and I kind of hope that people out there will enjoy it and enjoy the drivel that I've got to say about it, you know, my waffle. So yeah, it's not about the money. It's purely my own opinion based on the time that I have spent with the kit that I get to use. So if you are interested in any of this gear, go and have a look at other videos online before spending any cash. There's plenty of other reviews on this bit of kit and the 400. Go and see what other guys say. Yeah, and you know, if you want to help them out, they've probably got the affiliate link going, so go and help them earn an extra couple of quid. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope this has been of interest. Thank you, Oneleaf, and yeah, what a great piece of kit. Cheers, stay safe, and take it easy.